Hey everyone, thanks for stopping in on the Archangel 15. Today I have an interesting video on the hidden symbolism in the movie Terminator 2. Per my last presentation on suppressed energy, I mentioned that I was taking a break from my channel and kind of signing off for a while. I do intend to do that. However, this morning I saw something just breezing across a video, and it was very pertinent to various topics that I've covered in the past on my channel, and I felt like tying it all together and doing this presentation. And before I go on, per my last topic on free energy, I failed to mention one very vital thing. So, if you understand the law of conservation of energy, which is taught in every single school in America, and even $100,000 a year universities, yes, even like probably MIT and like top level universities teach this, that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but only transferred from one form to another. And if this is really true, then how the F do we explain magnets? Magnets create a continuous field of current, and like I said, they push, they pull, and it debunks the whole entire thing right there. On a side note, I have various suppressed medical topic ideas that I've worked on with magnets as well in the past. And if you look up like the patents for them, the patents don't exist. I have like numerous experiments that I've done with myself, and I can tell you that there's definitely amazing scientific value to these, and they do not want whoever it is that's keeping this suppressed, whether it's governments, whether it's religion, whether it's the energy industry, or all of them together. They do not want you to tie together this whole broader understanding of magnetism, and it's this positive and negative energy, and it's these two diametrically opposed forces that really dominate the heart of my presentation today. I'm going to continue on here, and if you've ever seen the movie Terminator 2, you're like, it's like a classic Americana. Like, personally, I'd say it's probably my all-time favorite film. Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Cameron produced it. Whoever played, Sarah Connor and John Connor, like amazing acting as well. And there's just one scene I'm gonna go into here in a minute, but like, if you remember, there's like they had this alien technology or this hidden technology where they uncovered a microchip, and also this arm, like this. It was like the robotic arm, like a fragment of it. It's like basically the preemptive basis of like the T-2000, which Arnold is made out of. And there's a scene in here where this lackey, this like intern for this company, which is like a corrolary here between Skynet, which is their like police state militarized company that wants to bring out this like alien technology, like basically to destroy they're using it to destroy the world with like these autonomous weapons, and like it's like this bad entity versus these other good entities. And if you, like I said, he comes up to this Mr. Dyson, this guy plays Dyson, and he says, Mr. Dyson, where did it come from? And he says, we're not supposed to ask it, but you can see like in the beginning that they're in this Skynet laboratory. They're like researching, like basically like back engineering this alien technology. And I'm going to go into other things shortly after. Please stay with me.
Let's try a new position right there. Okay.
The neurosense is correct because it works to the manifest.
Right. Those neurons are all saturated. Maybe the inhibitory circuits are failing.
Mr. Dyson! Mr. Dyson! The materials team is running another... Mr. Dyson?
Yes.
The materials team is running another series this afternoon, and you have to sign for you have to sign it out.
Okay, come on, I get it.
Listen, Mr. Dyson, I know I haven't been here that long, but I was wondering if you could tell me, if you know...
Know what?
Well, if you know where it came from.
I asked them that very same question once, and you know what they told me? Don't ask.
You may have missed it, but if you back it up, you can see what I want you to pay close attention to is on his t-shirt. I have a screenshot here. I'm also going to post a link to that video in my intro section, and you can see for yourself. But if you see what's on his t-shirt, it's none other than the Russian double-headed eagle, the exact same symbol as this. And he's the one asking where it came from. I almost think it's like a kind of what's known as an inference. I guess you could say. I got this jacket in 2017 on my trip to Russia. Took my mother. This is a better pictorial image of it where you can see there's a lot of symbolism to this. I'm not going to go into the symbolism of this as much as I am other things, but it kind of like resembles unification or like monarchy, and kind of like opposing forces, like good and evil, like almost like coming together or something like that. And it's this in the center. There's this like a heroic figure riding a white horse, slaying a dragon. There's a lot of debate as to who it exactly is. Some people in Russia say it's Saint George. Other people say it's Michael the Archangel. If you go to Michael the Archangel Cathedral, you can clearly see there's like a beautiful, huge picture of Michael the Archangel slaying a dragon. I wasn't able to take any video or pictures when I was in there, but absolutely just an amazing, amazing energy in there. It's where Michael Romanoff is also buried. And wanted to also share with you that symbol, it's like the exact same symbol as the Freemasons. The Freemasons have this as well. And like the one like the Russians have goes back like to the Byzantine Empire, like the 1400s. Like the first, there's like many variants of it over the years, but it goes back like way, way before the Freemasons were even thought of or founded. And you can see here, this is the Freemasons one. It's like very, very similar. And like, I don't like, why the Freemasons use this emblem, knowing it, like it's like Russian. Like, a lot of the Freemasons don't like the Russians, and they've, used eugenics programs to kill off Russian men. And so that's, I find to be very, very interesting that, this guy's wearing a shirt. So like, I'm going to paint you the broader picture, what I think the deal is with it. Okay, so I've mentioned in the past the book, The Lost Diary of Admiral Richard Byrd. Okay, so there's this legendary military admiral who went to the South Pole on this expedition in, like, I guess, the early 1900s, and he flew into the South Pole region, and supposedly there was like, it was nothing like what we're told. It's like this utopia that's there, and he like went into like this hollow earth, and he was like surrounded by these UFO saucers that had swastikas on them, and they like spoke to him through telepathy. Without like talking to him, they could like speak to him, and they basically told him that they wanted to remain anonymous. But when the United States started detonating thermonuclear weapons, that they had no choice but to make their presence known. And they essentially bred it, like basically came into the bloodlines of Russia and China, and gave them like alien technology and allowed them to create an opposition to this whole thing. It's also very notable that my grandfather, on my mother's side, actually was in the United States Navy and helped break Japanese code. They have come out. Ted Gunderson actually mentioned this. I didn't hear this from him, my grandfather, but they actually had Japanese code broken prior to the bombing, as in Pearl Harbor, and they could have stopped it, but they let it happen on purpose to basically justify the use of nuclear weaponry and the subsequent bolstering of the military-industrial complex. Harry Truman, I think it is, talked avidly, like he has this famous farewell address where he like warns of the implications of the rise of the military. He's like, beware power assault and unsalt, the rise of the military industrial complex. Basically, that by the end of like World War II, that it was so big of a machine that it couldn't go away, that like it had to justify its own existence. And this is exactly the truth. And like it metastasized into this bigger like micromanaging of every facet, every aspect of life. And it's like this complete globalist takeover in a sense. They've infiltrated everything. And, this has been going on long before I was, in the picture. And, I was born in 1985. But essentially, like I said, this Skynet represents Lockheed Martin Corporation. They're like the modern day Lockheed Martin Corporation. And they I believe that these people, like these Hollow Earth people, basically allow these UFOs to crash on purpose. So knowing, like these people, like they have like a deeper intuitive sense of like the Matrix time, and like almost like aliens, angels, gods, maybe some people would say. And they knew that like so like they're going to take this technology, And within like 50 to 75 years, they're going to think that they're gods, or like they're going to like be basically think that they're on the god level with this technology. And then so they're going to take the technology, and like I said, not only is it after they do that, is it like they can like through back doors be hacked or like infiltrated, but also like it'll be used to bring down a complete collapse of society. Like it'll do away with all like commerce. Like people won't like go to the store anymore. They'll just buy everything on the internet, just like they do now. They won't have interaction through dating. They'll just go on dating sites, and that's how they'll meet people. They kids won't go out and play. They'll just sit home and play video games. And like within like 1 or 2 generations of this happening, it'll like have like a huge detriment on just genetics and just like I said, just like basically basic traits of evolution, like like natural selection, survival of the fittest, certain things like this. And the U.S. started these war games, and the Hollow Earth people, like I said, basically infiltrated the Russians and the Chinese, and they knew this a long time before this, and they gave them this technology to basically thwart this and stop it. Gets into like the Nephilim bloodlines. Also, like the Ukrainians are really it's like really interesting with the Ukrainians in this as well. That like the earliest findings of the images with the swastika on it were found like outside of Kiev, Ukraine. They go back like 5,000 years ago, like very, very, very old. And like I said, it's found all over the entire world, like in ancient India, stuff that goes thousands of years. Ancient China, there's like 20, 30, 40 different variants of the swastika, and it represents like this rotating energy, like rotating currents. And like I said, it's this diametrically opposed these forces, like the yin and the yang, I guess you could look at it as. And like I said, in Ukraine, there's Chernobyl. There's also the Russian woodpecker there, and like that was actually went into commission like before the reactors did. And Nikola Tesla, they didn't let him pursue his free energy ideas in this country. The J.P. Morgan said they can't be metered, so we're not going to let you do it. They wanted to keep everybody a slave. I mentioned this in the past, and he went over to Russia, gave them free energy ideas, and like basically it had to do with the Russian woodpecker. And on July 4th, 1976, the Russians fired up the Russian woodpecker. It had numerous purposes. One of them was like a mind control beacon. You can see here. It's some people call it the eighth wonder of the world. It's absolutely, like, the pictures don't do it justice. It's absolutely massive. It goes on and on and on and on as far as the eye can see. So one of it was like a mind control beacon. It could like interfere with human brain waves. Number 2, it interfered with civilian radio band and actually created this sound like a woodpecker, and that's why it got called the Russian woodpecker. Number 3, it was a radar device called actually Duga Radar 1. There's another one, Duga Radar 2, in Khabarovsk, not far from where my friend lives out there, and it could detect any like a thermonuclear detonation or like a launch from like miles and like thousands of miles away. It was like well ahead of its time. Really interesting technology there. But like the Russians have had technology that's like on a whole nother level. And like the girls there, like you can just see like part of the Nephilim bloodline. Really interesting stuff. And the Nazis, most notably, like I said, they also adopted the swastika, and like they went to Ukraine and places like Sweden and took the blonde hair, blue-eyed girls and incorporated them into their SS projects. And after the fall of Nazi Germany, there was Operation Paperclip in America, where they took the like basically half the German scientists got divided. Like half of them went to Russia, the better ones, the ones that were involved in aeronautics, aviation, basically making missiles and aerodynamics, like the high level missile technology. And then there was the mind control people, basically the really evil mind control people like Himmler. They all went to the United States, and they continued their SS projects under the like I said, under the military industrial complex. They basically did a continuation of their SS stuff there. And it's another notable thing I read in a book is that several wealthy families paid a lot of money to hide the fact and keep out of textbooks that American business interests were simultaneously working with German, with the Nazis while we were at war with them, and they were both funded by the same exact people. And this is like very prominent American families, and they did not want this to be known. It also ties into the British monarchy as well, and the Bushes, like I said, I've talked in the past about like this whole cloning thing and stolen bloodlines of divinity. I could go on and on and on. So yes, know that the swastika is not a symbol of hate. It's like an alien symbol almost. It's like it's older than anything almost. It goes back and back and back. And there's a one that's called a clavoret, which is like a variant of it. It gets into like Norse mythology as well. So I'm going to stop talking about that, and I'm going to transfer now to the symbolism of the hammer and the sickle in Russia. And this is something I wanted to do for a while. For our purposes, I'm going to use this representation of the hammer and sickle. This is like the classic one with the wheat, this star, and you can see the hammer and the sickle. Now, if you ask normal people, what what it represents, even people in Russia, they'll tell you that it represents the working class and the peasant class, and the Communist Party, essentially. And maybe there's some truth to that, but there's deeper implied meanings. And I actually found a lot of it from, not to the level I'm going to tell you, but Jordan Maxwell, a true legend in esoteric, occultic symbolism and all kinds of stuff. Jordan Maxwell talked about this for many, many years. And basically, before there was religion, okay, so there was what's known as atavism, which understand that eventually at some point somebody realized that organizing religion was a great way to control people. It was a great way to amass empires. It was a great way to keep people scared and keep people refined. And like I said, you pay your money to the church and this and that. And it's kind of almost like a union in and of itself. You get protection from the church to this and that. And maybe there's certain good attributes to it. But before organized religion, there was atavism, which is think about the Native Americans. People weren't, worried about going to mass. They were worried about hunting and gathering and providing their basic needs, shelter, food. And you got to paint the bigger picture in the broader gamut of time. And if you understand symbolism and theology, you understand the first thing that's going to come up is sun worship. So understand the star is the sun, represents the sun. Okay, so then this right here, the sickle is the crescent, the crescent moon. So it's the sun and the moon. I'm going to get into the hammer here very shortly. And then the wheat I'm going to also get into as well. But understand that 15, okay, so Russia, by itself, Russia, the Soviet Union had the hammer and sickle, they flew. China also had the hammer and sickle that it flew, and Korea did as well. And the countries that didn't fly the hammer and sickle pretty much had very similar crescent star shaped flags. There's too many to go over here, but there's tons of them. And it gets into this this diametrically opposed forces magnetism, the male energy, female energy, the yin and the yang, if you can understand what I'm saying there. And okay, so not only did they have 15 other countries, former Kazakhstan, Armenia, Ukraine, Belarus, I could go on and on and on, tons and tons and tons of countries they flew the hammer and sickle up until the early 90s. So then basically they had 17 time zones. Russia used to have Alaska. When they had Alaska and Ukraine, Belarus, they had 17, maybe 18 time zones. I personally believe that the U.S. really lost the Cold War, and that they developed a 30 to 40 year succession plan to basically allow the middle class to build up America. Then we're going to kill off the middle class and other people and hand the country over to Russia and China, essentially. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you understand the Bavarian Illuminati, the whole preemptive basis was that this was not the white people's land to begin with. It was the Native Americans were here, And like the Native Americans were essentially like Russians and Chinese and Iranians, basically those mixed together. And like George Washington actually had correspondence with Catherine the Great, and said that she wanted to know about the linguistics of the Native American language. I've talked about this in the past, and George Washington said he didn't have much to give her. This connection was through Marquis de Lafayette, General Marquis de Lafayette, Washington's like right-hand man from France, and he didn't have much to give her, but he said he noticed that the northern Native Americans resembled Asians, in his opinion. So then, like, okay, I showed you that flag. I'm going to show you the flag of China. What do you see here? A crescent with a star. Like, most people don't see it that way, but it's a crescent with a star. The same exact thing. And it's 5 stars, five-sided stars, which is really, really interesting. Number 5 is very big into symbolism in this whole thing, and understand that like the whole matrix as we know it, like I've talked about, is like basically all traces back to China, essentially. Like aliens, China, like even like Vladimir Putin, like there's I believe he has relations to my mother's side, but the family tree traces back further to Chinese imperial bloodlines. Like it's like really interesting when you get into your conquest for information. My mother told me like years ago that like there's like a bread portion of like understanding when you get into like Bible study and stuff, and then there's like the meat portion. Like very, very few people ever get to that meat portion in their quest for truth and veritas. So I talked about that. Okay, so then I'm going to talk about the wheat in this one. I'm not going to do too much on that, but the wheat, it represents like fertility. It represents like the body of Christ, or like the bloodline of the Grail, essentially. When we have communion, we take the bread in remembrance of Christ. It's like it represents the body of Christ, but it goes back further than Christ, folks, a lot further. And it's like even like the bloodline of David is like where it came from, and like it goes back even further than that. And like nobody wants to ask questions. Everybody just wants to keep simplistic, like, oh, the Muslims have the right answer, oh, the Jews have the right answer, oh, the Christians have the right answer, and they fail to realize that there's a much bigger picture in this whole thing. So with this, it gets into like magnetism. Okay, so like these represent like parabolas of gravity, time, light, emitted. Basically, if you understand the electromagnetic spectrum, like in wave theory. I know that this is a kind of a stretch here, but I've showed this in the past about James Clerk Maxwell, and you can see here, like on the side, like it's kind of like that, and like almost sort of same symbolism with the star and everything like that, but it basically explains how magnetism works. So I think I covered a lot on all that stuff. The crescent thing, I guess, is very important to understand male and female energy. Like just astral stuff with the sun. And then here, okay, so we have the almighty hammer. And the hammer is like not what you think it is. Like many would think it's like an industrial attribute or whatever. But like, okay, it gets sort of deep into Norse mythology. Let me cover that. There's something known as Thor's hammer, and this Thor is just like almost, it looks like Michael the Archangel in a pictorial image. You can see it's said that his hammer could level mountains, and like there's this deep like mystique around it. There's another like a modern day version of it that they actually have old ones that they found that look really, really cool. There's like an ancient relic, Thor's hammer. You can see here's another one. Looks very similar to the Freemasons emblem as well. And like I'm telling you, there's like very special energy to this. Like I was actually looking for stickers to get for just to put on my kayak, and like there's this one that I was looking at, and like every time like I would look at it, like the wind would like blow and like blow the wind chimes like near me. I know that sounds like a stretch, but it's like really crazy. You can see here, like there's different versions, variants of Thor's hammer. It's also associated with like lightning bolts as well. The day I got this, there was like this huge thunderstorm that came in as well. Kind of interesting there, but it's deeper. It gets into like the notion of the war hammer, And like Native American, like it goes back to like Native American spiritualism. Understand, like I said, let's go back to this very primitive state of like deep level spiritualism. Okay, so Native American culture, like everybody thinks that they hunted with bow and arrow and like field point arrowheads, and they probably did. But I can tell you, even with modern day high technology compound bows and like precision broadheads, it's not as easy as you think to kill big game. Like they would, like especially with wooden arrows and metal and stone broadheads, you would have had to have been extremely close, and it wouldn't have killed the animal. You would have had to put, like demobilize the animal and then jump on top and like blunt force trauma to the back of the brainstem. This is one tomahawk, I guess you could say, that I found, and I'm very happy to have found. I want to note also that like you can see it's pretty cool. It's like got like a concave front to it, and you can actually, I made this, I didn't find this part, I made this and just put it on it. It's a kind of cool little thing. And this is another one I found. This is a lot better one, but there's like certain, like just the way they feel, there's like a certain energy to them, almost you could say. And I can tell you that like you can go to like any 6 foot by 6 foot area and excavate in America, like or like around like a river, or like where there would be a good hunting spot, and you can almost find like anywhere you can find this stuff, like or like a broadhead, like or, arrowheads. This like the Native Americans were here a lot longer than they want to admit to. They were here for thousands and thousands and thousands, if not millions of years. And you know, for whatever reason, you know, it's very sad what happened to them. The Freemasons, you know, were a deep part of you know their suppression. Also, I just want to throw this in there. Metallica has this album, Kill 'Em All. It's like a really good album. And they had like a warhammer there, and the judge, you know, has a gavel, and you know he like judge presides, you know, order in the court type thing. And there's this famous picture of Washington with the sun and the moon. There's different variants of this same picture, but with the sun and the moon, like I said, it represents fertility, represents like positive, negative energy, male and female energy. It's very, very, very deep. Again, I think it's really cool about like this double-headed eagle that's on this guy's shirt. Like I said, I don't think it was by chance. I think it like really ties a lot of this deeper perspective together, and it gets into a study of anthropology, and you understand like rise and fall of civilizations. You know, this country's been here 230 years, and like people here, you know, they think it's like the epicenter of the entire universe. They fail to, you know, grasp the understanding and like a respect for just the broader gamut of time as you know it. And like I said, they know that about every 5,000 years or so, that there's some type of an event that transpires that basically takes everything back to this atavist type atmosphere, where, like I said, like technology doesn't matter. It's like survival of the fittest. Everything probably goes underground, and they allow certain people to come out with advancements, achievements, and it's like almost like the storybook of the Bible. It plays over and over and over again. It's like it never gets old, I guess you could say. If you're still with me, I can't thank you enough for all your time, and I really thank you, my dedicated followers, the few that I do have. Please feel free to leave any comments. Like I said, I'm going to be taking a break from this channel for a while. Maybe I'll post some stuff from my travels, or maybe an occasional recipe idea in the past or in the future. I have some other interesting little things that I want to work on as well when I get to other countries. And I will see you again possibly here on the Archangel 15. Thanks for your time, folks.